ladies and gentlemen, last but not the least, we have the main part, the main session on quality management, headed by Mr. Pranav Parikh, Mr. Naren Kalapi, and Prafula from Technova. And this session is going to be chaired by Fahim Agbotwala. I hand you over to Mr. Fahim.
Ease our confusion on quality management. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about quality management. One of the most important issues that businesses have focused on in the last 20 to 30 years has been quality. As markets have become much more competitive, quality has become widely regarded as the key ingredient for success in business. What is the meaning of quality management? Producing products of the required quality does not happen by accident. There has to be a production process which is properly managed. Quality management is concerned with controlling activities with the aim of ensuring that products and services are fit for their purpose and meet the desired specifications. Customers have increasingly become quality conscious shoppers. They want to know upfront that your business will meet their needs. A quality management system demonstrates your commitment to quality and customer satisfaction. And the people who are going to make this simple for us are Pranav Parikh and Team Technova. I'm going to say a few words about the person who really doesn't need any introduction. From a reputed press, Printwell, to a world-renowned printer provider, Technova. This is a journey undertaken by Pranav Parikh, Chairman and Managing Director of Technova. If I was given one word to describe him, it surely would have been visionary. PNP, as he is affectionately called within Technova, is truly a Navratna of the Indian graphic arts industry. He's been the first Asian regional vice president for the past several years of the Graphic Arts Technical Foundation, USA, popularly known as GATF. Pranav Bhai is passionate about technological innovations to enhance the competitiveness of the Indian graphic arts industry. He considers his strength to be his commitment to focus on end user needs. Under his leadership, Technova has been able to achieve many firsts in plates, chemistry, laser, and inkjet media. These innovations have contributed significantly in bridging the technological gaps between the advanced countries and India. He is joined today by Mr. Naren Kalapi. Mr. Naren is a BTech in Technology of Intermediates and Dyes from UDCT. He has worked in various industries during his 32 years of work experience in R&D, manufacturing, projects, and HR. He has worked in MNCs like Colorchem and Johnson & Johnson prior to joining Technova. He's been with Technova for the past 10 years and has worked in the capacity of manufacturing head, project leader, and HR. He has been steering the Kaizen initiative in Technova for the past 3 years. His special areas of interest are HR, use of quality tools in manufacturing and research, environmental engineering, and human development. Naren will also be joined by Mr. Prafulla Sathe. Prafulla is a printing engineer from Maharashtra Institute of Printing Technology, Pune, and has a degree in marketing management from the Symbiosis Institute of Management, Pune. He is trained at GATF in the US and AGFA's application lab in Belgium on the pre-press and press room applications. He carries 24 years of rich experience in Technova. He's worked in the field of marketing, production, quality assurance, customer care, and product development. Currently, he is heading the technical support division for CTP systems in Technova. I'd like to ask you all one thing. Would you agree with me if I told you all that success is all about getting it right? Well, I would say success is getting it right the first time. And not the first time, getting it right every time. Every time, the first time, every time. And I give it to Pranav Bhai, who's going to tell us just how to do that. Please give a warm hand welcome to him.
Thank you very much. I think it's wonderful every time to be invited by BMPA, and there's a nice warm feeling meeting printers and seeing the amount of enthusiasm and eagerness that is there each time to learn more. I've been billed as a hero, which is not really true. It's more like zero, because what we're going to talk about today is all about zeros. And that's the way one would like to be seen in any case. Let's see whether the time available is adequate to cover the subject. And let's first see whether this gets going. Okay. Fred, in terms of time, where is Fred?
1.5.
Hour and a half? Okay, so we'll go ahead. Are you able to see the screen from the back? Otherwise, I'll make sure I read out every slide. I guess it's difficult at the end, isn't it?
Just dim the lights.
We can dim the lights if that's okay. But I guess you still can't see the bottom half of the screen. Can you at the back? All right. Okay, so just visualize that the slides are good. Okay, and I'll do my best to read them out to you. They might slow me down a bit, but we'll do our best. Okay. This has been prepared by our Kaizen team, our quality management team, headed by Naren. He is our quality guru. And the objectives for this session are basically for me to be graded well by him on my knowledge of quality management. So this is a test for me more than anything else. I'll try and share whatever I understand about quality through my days at Printwell and thereafter at Technova. It's a fascinating subject. Lot to learn. I would say I'm still at the white belt level, hoping to get to yellow and green. And it would be good to know if there are any black belts in quality in the audience today. Has anyone gone through any formal quality Six Sigma black belt examinations? No. Okay. Green? Okay. There's one in green belt? Wonderful. So would you mind leaving the room? Then I can say what I want to say. Let me ask you 3 questions before I go through the rest of the objectives. How many of you produce quality products? If you can raise your hands, please. Quality products. All right. So half of you are honest when you didn't raise your hands. Second question, how do you define quality? When you say you're quality product manufacturers, what's your definition of quality? And I will not ask Heidelberg, but anyone else? Anyone would like to volunteer?
If I get the repeated order.
If you get repeated order, that's very good. But yes, please. Yeah, Sandeep. Yeah.
When sitting here in the audience, spelled it out on the dais last Saturday. Producing quality is merely following customer specifications.
Wonderful. Thank you. That makes sense. So, if we define quality as getting repeat orders because you're able to meet customer requirements, you don't need to be here today. You already know what quality is all about. It's only a question of how to get there. To get there, one needs to have a desire to really learn more and more about quality. So that's my second level objective. And the final objective is if we can motivate BMPA to really initiate a quality management movement in the industry here in a very organized and structured manner, I'm sure people like Heidelberg and Technova and a lot of other vendors would be more than eager to support such a movement because that's what's the need of the day today. Structure of the session will be talking about the basics, the fundamentals of quality management as I understand it. 45 minutes to cover 63 slides. I have 40 seconds per slide. Let's see how we do. The second module will be on one of the most important tools of quality management, which is the 7-step problem-solving model, also known as PDCA, but this is much more than PDCA. And Naren and Praful will be handling that along with a case study. Suggestions for the SOP for the session. Anytime you have a question or comment, please raise your hand or just stand up and yell. If you are requested to comment, you have already been commenting, so that's a wonderful interactive spirit. If you have any private comments like what nonsense is he talking about? Share it publicly. That will help us a lot. And cell phones silent. If you would have urgent calls, feel free to walk out. And any suggestions at any time to improve the session are most welcome. Let's start with what topics we're going to cover in this session. Basic principles of quality. Father of quality is Deming, just as we have Gutenberg here. We have Deming on the quality front. All of you must have heard about the Deming's Award. Let's see how he revolutionized the concepts of quality. Then we'll talk about the methodologies that are available, what are the system components in each of the quality management systems, and milestones on the journey, and of course, we will talk about a bit about, if there is time, the printing industry and how the quality journey is today being addressed in the printing industry and what can be done. He really pulled the American economy out of crisis with his concepts on quality. He destroyed 5 assumptions about quality, demolished them. One assumption was quality means goodness, excellence, superior product, superior service. It's intangible, can't be measured. It's in the mind, it's very subjective. It's very expensive. Economics of quality is such that only the best can afford a Heidelberg press. For the rest, they have to wait for the second-hand or the third-hand one. Same thing goes for plates. Quality problems are not caused by us. We give them the best machines, the best of everything. It's the workers that cause quality problems. And that's where we get into troubles. They are not trained well enough. They don't have the right mindset. They don't care about quality. They're very sloppy. And we believe that quality originates in the quality department or the quality control department. It's their job to ensure that quality is good. These were the assumptions that were prevailing, and some of them may still be prevailing in some countries, in some industries, in some segments. He defined 4 absolutes of quality. In terms of definition, I can't point on both the screens, so I'll just use this one. Definition of quality, he changed from goodness to conformance to requirements, which is exactly what was shared. It's conformance, strict conformance to customer requirements in every sense of the word, not just the product. End to end, includes service, includes every little detail of interface with the customer. System is designed to prevent problems at the point of origin or in the process, not after the product is produced. So no inspection, no appraisal, prevention is the focus of the system. No question of sorting things out. Performance standards, 0 defect. That's what I said, we have to talk about zeros now. We can't talk about anything except going in the direction of creating 0 defect. The product has to meet 100% with the customer requirements without any variation, time after time after time. And measurements. Measurements, not subjective, it's good, it doesn't match the original, it's wishy-washy, nothing like that. It has to be quantified, and it has to be related to the cost of quality. It's all about cost and conformance to customer requirement. And measurements are put together to be able to tell you how much your product is costing you to produce at what quality level. Mr. Kepler presented excellent data. I was very inspired by it on how you can understand and analyze how much contribution you're getting from different industries, different customers on different products. That system is part of quality management system. Quality management system does not mean producing the right products. It's comprehensive, pervasive, it binds all the operations together. It's the glue that puts them together, and all the data, whether it's relating to market, administration, or manufacturing, is part of quality management system. And this is how he defines it. As Feinberg said, do it right the first time, every time, time after time. Let's read his definition together without pausing and explaining, because it's self-explanatory. Quality management is a systematic way of guaranteeing that organized activities happen the way they are planned. Now, it sounds very simple, but what does it really say? It implies that you have to have a plan. It implies that you have to have a standard operating procedure for carrying out every activity. It says that you must have standard for every activity. It says you must measure whether the activities are being performed as per standard or not. And the system that does it all is what quality management is all about. It is a management discipline that is concerned with preventing problems from occurring by creating attitudes and controls that make prevention possible. It's not about inspection. It's about the mindset. The mindset is focused on preventing problems from occurring. And it's a management discipline, not a shop floor discipline. It starts from the top, from the owner, from the CEO, continuously to have an attitude of improvement and prevention, looking at root causes, corrective action, and preventive action. It causes a mindset shift from purely subjective dimension of quality to cost dimension. Now, this is a very important one, that by having this mindset, by having the quality management system in place, we are looking actually at cost, something very tangible. Not about feeling good that we are producing a good product, or somebody says your quality is very good. It's not about that. It's not even about getting repeat orders from the customers. It's about producing a zero defect product at the lowest possible cost. Now, he's converted his definition into fairly simple management principles. Create constancy of purpose for continual improvement of product and service. What one often finds is that we embark on a certain path of improvement, and after a few attempts, if it doesn't work too well, we give it up. Other things become more important. What is suggested is, once you start down a path, stay with it. To really get to zero defect quality is not the job of 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. It may take 3 to 4 years to get there if you're continuously after it. It needs constancy of purpose. Adopt new philosophy for economic stability. Make quality the foundation of survival, not a luxury. Cease dependence on inspection to achieve quality. End the practice of avoiding business on price tag alone. What he's saying is, do not compete on price, compete on quality. Similarly, don't buy inputs based on price, buy it based on cost in use. See how much they are contributing to eliminating defects, enhancing productivity, and buy on the basis of cost to quality, cost in use, sell on the basis of cost of quality to the end user, the value added to the end user, and not on the basis of cutthroat pricing. Improve constantly and forever the system of production and service, end to end. Continuous improvement program. It's never good enough. Institute training on the job. Send your top management people to the shop floor at least for 1 entire week in a year. Let them do the job with their own hands. send the salesman to the shop floor, and send the shop floor people to the customer and out in the field. Have a cross-functional understanding and continuous education. Adopt and institute modern methods of supervision and leadership based on empowerment, motivation, and not managing by fear. Drive out fear. If somebody makes a mistake, thank him for it because you can learn something from it. Maybe you can eliminate that from happening again. Instead of creating fear whereby mistakes are hidden and concealed till they become truly damaging. Break down barriers between department and individual, because quality is not residing in departments in silos. They tie up the entire organization. So they even recommend instituting programs of giving rewards to one department if they suggest improvements in another department rather than finding faults with the other department. To create quality circles, to create interdisciplinary teams for overall improvement. Eliminate slogans. Do it, don't talk about it. Eliminate work standards and numerical quotas. Do not worry about achieving production targets. Focus on the process, on the productivity, eliminating waste, eliminating defects, eliminating idle time, and your output will increase. Don't set the production standards, set the process standards. Remove barriers that rob the worker of the right to pride in workmanship. It's he who is contributing, and every human being wants to feel good about what he's doing. That's the real motivating factor, not the wages he gets. Institute a vigorous program of education and retraining, and define top management's permanent top commitment to ever-improving productivity and quality. So these are basic reorientation, mind reorientation thoughts, which are simple, fundamental, but we don't often practice it. They're difficult to practice. What are the different methodologies? We've heard about TQM, ISO, Six Sigma, Kaizen, lean manufacturing, world-class manufacturing, total productive maintenance. All sorts of labels are hanging out there. Which direction do we take? It's a big challenge. Toyota production system have put the best of all of these together. And they have become the automobile industry standard. Everybody follows a Toyota way. All of them basically have the same system components, same focuses, zero defects, zero waste, zero delay. However, there are certain biases. Kaizen is biased towards waste elimination. Six Sigma is biased towards eliminating defects and variations. And lean manufacturing is about process efficiencies, eliminating delays, downtime, waiting time of materials, and so on. But at the end of the day, each one of these programs offers you everything. It's not confined to one or the other. So whichever way you go, stay with it, and it's bound to work for you. Toyota Way has put all of this together. What are the major components that any of these methodologies would offer you? Number one, creating commitment in the owner, passionate commitment. Secondly, defining customer requirements. It's a science. We often think we know what the customer needs, but there is a lot more to customer needs which we fail to discover adequately. All of that knowledge has to be built in to designing the process or the product or your offering in a manner that no one else can offer, creating uniqueness, creating a distinctive competitive advantage, and using data to do that, not subjective assessment. Convert that into a process which can be measured and controlled. So process management involves tools for measurements and controls. Continuous improvement, Kaizen, is what is required, and there are techniques to do that. And finally, you keep moving up, keep getting better. A time comes when incremental change is not good enough. One needs a step change, transforming the business by achieving breakthroughs and going from one kind of process, one type of product, one kind of industry to something else. Probably going from offset to digital, or maybe moving from paper-based commercial printing to flexo. These are all breakthrough or innovative changes. Maybe installing pre-press in-house or pre-press people going in for printing. These are step changes. All of this is part of a complete system of looking at things and managing things. So what are the milestones in the quality management journey? Defining customer requirements, producing products that meet those requirements as the designer intended. That's called fitness to standards. The process should be able to meet those standards. So you need to have a pre-press, hardware, software systems, presses, etc., which can deliver to the customer what he needs. Once you've selected your industry segment, once you've understood the customer requirement, one needs to gear the entire infrastructure to do that in the most effective manner. So a lot of work is involved. The plant layout has to be designed accordingly. Flows have to be designed accordingly. And in manufacturing, the distribution and logistics have to be defined accordingly. Fitness to use. Just because you make very good products does not mean that they are fit to use and that the customer is able to use them the way it was intended, especially in packaging materials. A detailed study using certain techniques to find out whether the customer is able to get the maximum value out of the way you are delivering the products, whether it's perforation, creasing, cutting, folding, rub resistance, what have you. Is it really doing the job at the end user's stage? For example, toothpaste. Do you store your toothpaste horizontally or vertically? How many of you keep it standing on the shelf? Most of them keep it horizontal, right? I experiment vertical. Okay. You keep it like this, standing? All right. Now, what is the size of the cap?
It is kept in the glass.
You keep it in the glass. But supposing you don't have the glass, right?
Or it's flat.
I keep it on the cap, on the glass. Okay? I don't do that when I'm drunk. But at other times, I do that. It's fun doing that. Now, this time I was in the States, and I was stunned to find that someone came up with a toothpaste with a cap that's that big so that you could stand it. It was designed so that it actually wrote there, you do not require anything to store this, just stand it on the cap. Shaving creams come live. Little things that go a long way and create preferences. Packaging, materials that are used make a huge amount of difference in terms of fitness of use. One can go on and on and on. Fitness to cost. Are you the lowest cost producer of the highest quality product? Benchmarking against others is very essential. And it is possible to produce, I wouldn't say it is possible, I would say the only way to achieve the lowest cost is to produce the highest quality product with total quality management system. There is no other way to be the lowest cost producer. Fitness to latent requirement is the next stage. Certain requirements of the customers are not spelled out. There are techniques to discover what his latent requirements are, which he's not talking about, and designing products to meet those requirements or services to meet those requirements. And finally, corporate culture and a noble purpose behind your business is also part of the journey. What are the toolkits available to you? You have standardization, which is a big must, 7-step problem-solving tools or PDCA, 7 QC tools, quality circles, process improvement. These are all to do with production. Here is a list of tools that are used for measurements and analysis. check sheet, Pareto diagram, cause and effect or fishbone or Ishikawa diagram, graphic stratification, control charts, histogram, scatter diagrams. What Mr. Kepler did was to use, in a sense, a Pareto diagram to really put down how your sales were coming from different segments. What was done as interpretation could have been done with a fishbone diagram, and there could have been control charts, so the margins you're targeting for and industries that go beyond the controls can be dropped out. Here is a quick look at, these are management and marketing charts, I'll skip them. This is what the charts look like. Check sheets are designed to collect data. Pareto diagrams give you a frequency distribution as to which defects are really causing the maximum problem, so you can focus on those defects. This is a cause and effect diagram, whereby any problem that you encounter, you can put them under different headings: material, methods, environment, men, machine, and measure, and list out the possible causes that are contributing to those problems. And Praful and Naren will walk you through some of the printing problems that can be analyzed using such a chart. And then there are graphs and control charts to see whether your process is within the parameters, whether it's density variations or registration or whatever it is, whether it's within the parameters or going beyond it. Histograms, scatter diagrams, all of these things tell you whether your process is under control. Here is a process control system model. Once you have the quality management system in place, all you need to do is to listen to the voice of the process and voice of customer. You have your inputs, which is people, equipment, materials, methods, and environment, which are all put together by a well-designed quality management system, results in a product which gets delivered to the customer. But the story doesn't end there. The system must provide for feedback from the process through statistical methods, which is fed back until the process keeps improving and defects get eliminated. And similarly, the voice of the customer coming from the customer to identify his changing needs and his level of satisfaction with the products that you're supplying, so that he keeps coming back to you. Voice of the customer will also tell you what your competitors are doing. But this needs to be done in an organized, systematic, process-driven method, system-driven and not individual-driven. This is the process control model. If you have this in place, then 90% of your problems are solved. To demystify everything, it's very simple. Start with the customer, find out his needs, design the product features or your offerings to meet his needs, design the process to be able to make those offerings consistently, and install process controls to ensure that the process parameters are properly followed. So in a sense, it's an extremely simple process, but it needs to be properly designed. Let's come to the Indian printing industry. Do we really consider ourselves as world-class in print quality? How many of us think we are world-class? You can put your hands up, please. How many of you think we are not world-class? There are more numbers there. Okay. Now, if a print buyer were to visit us and look at us as an industry, how will he judge us, an international print buyer? I suppose he would look at whether you won international awards, how many elephants you have in your warehouse, print results, he will see your jobs, your track record, the capability of your plant, what presses you are using, what pre-press equipment, post-press you have, what is the condition of those equipment, what sort of people capabilities you have, whether the company is financially stable. Would he look at the quality management process? He would. That's the invisible. The rest is visible. Right? Now, if he were to come and look at the quality management systems prevailing in India, let's take the whole industry as a print shop, what would he find? The differentiator lies in the quality management process. He will probably find that all the 5, he will find a lot of printers who qualify. Large number will have won international awards, print results are excellent, world class, so on and so forth. The real differentiator is the invisible factor. Does the organization have a system in place to manage quality so that every copy that comes to him is consistent? Right? Because only then would he be able to be reassured that he doesn't have to check any copies. Now, how does he check whether quality management system is in place or not? It's not international awards for excellence in printing that he will look for. He will look for whether you have quality awards or not for your quality systems. Excellence in quality management. Do you have that? Do you have certification for quality? ISO certification or whatever. Do you carry out systematic quality audit? He would want to look at those sheets, or he may want to carry out a quality audit himself. Okay? As far as awards are concerned, there is the Deming Medal, Malcolm Bridge Award, Baldrige Award, EFQM Award, EXIM Award, which is in India, and Ramkrishna Bajaj Award in India. Some of the printers may have got it, but most of us, I don't think, have even thought of applying for these awards. As far as a survey is concerned of the industry, to the best of our knowledge, and this is limited sample of what we know, quality management systems are in place in one fashion or the other in Pragati Art, IPP, Kalajyoti, Repro, Thomson, Magna Graphics, Parsons, and Ajanta Press. They are in different stages of development. And in newspapers, again, there are less than a dozen newspapers who are practicing, like Malayalam Manorama, Times of India, DNA, Hindustan Times, Anand Bazar Patrika, Sakal, Midday, Rajasthan Patrika. An ISO certification is less than 10 companies. This is based on what we know. Now, when you consider this, there are 10,000 offset printers in India, and I'm not including the small offset printers. Out of that, on one slide, we can put all the companies that are following a quality management system. If you do a dipstick survey of the measurement devices used, we find that densitometers are used in less than 10% of the presses, control strips in less than 10%, 20x magnifier less than 5%, standard viewing booths to see color 20%, but they get beautiful booths because when they buy the press, they probably get a booth. What happens when the bulb or the lamp goes? They just put a normal lamp. So the booth is of no use any longer. It's just a light booth. It's no longer a viewing booth. Ink testing equipment, 10%. Water testing equipment, 5%. Cylinder setting gauge, 5%. Quality certification from suppliers. I'm surprised that very few, hardly any, insist on a certificate from a supplier in terms of safety, in terms of quality specification for every batch they buy. You are entitled to ask the supplier, I want the following parameters certified by you for the batch you're supplying to me. And you know that every input that you buy, whether it's an ink or paper or plate or whatever, at least 10 important parameters are there which you must ask him to certify, batch after batch. This is not being done. Therefore, either you have to check it, or if you don't check it, there's one more variable for creating a defect. So when we look at this type of picture, it would be difficult to say that we are world class. Because if we put the numbers for so-called world-class printing industries, they would look very different. Maybe Mr. Kepler, you can help me. What would be the percentage of printers in Germany having densitometers?
I would say nearly 100%.
Nearly 100%. Maybe more than 100 because maybe on every press there is a densitometer, every printing machine. Okay. Control strip, usage of control strip for measurement.
It's indispensable.
It's indispensable. Okay. Over here we try to save paper and don't put control strips. So how can you really have consistent quality? These are all issues. Okay. Use of standard specifications is the other thing he will ask. What color standards are you using? Are you using ISO, FOGRA, GRACOL, SWAP, whatever? Or you have your own standards? Do we have a standard for the Indian printing industry? Answer is no. Unfortunately. It's a starting point for anything. So how do we know whether we are encouraging? Because Indian printing industry today has tremendous potential. And if we can solve the quality gap, we can become unbeatable. Passionate commitment depends basically on the strategy that your company has, the perception that the owners have of what is quality, and your willingness and ability to invest in a good, robust quality management system. Let's look at company strategy. Is quality relevant for your company? Is it a luxury? Is it a comfort? Or is it essential for survival? Is a question that you need to ask. For that, one needs to look at what is in terms of the trends in the industry, what is visible and what is unknown. It's the job of the owner, visible, the job of the middle management, visible. That's the iceberg principle. Okay. Now, what is that there is pricing? Making too little money. If you look at 10,000 printers and really do the kind of analysis that Mr. Kepler projected, surprisingly you will find, or not so surprisingly you will find, most of them are in survival mode, not making reasonable profits. To be able to reinvest and grow. And bulk of the industry is in survival mode. Invisible, which is somehow there up in the air, but there is no tangible evidence of it. Some printers are making very good money, right? I won't ask you to raise your hands, but excellent money, better than in many, many industries. So there is a dichotomy. There are those that are not making money, those who are making money but complaining all the time, we'll leave them aside. But the fact remains that there are a lot of them who are making very good money. There's massive growth in demand for print, tremendous. And there is a massive growth in capacity as well. And interestingly, the capacity now is growing not only in terms of second-hand machines, but new machines with automation built in. What is unknown? The potential to become a global print process outsourcing center. Today, China is positioned to do that. I think India has tremendous potential to do that if we get some things right. And some of the players are already making very good progress. Entry of multinationals into the printing industry through joint ventures or backdoor entry or direct entry. A lot of them are looking at India as a place where they have to be there. No CEO can retain his job abroad unless he has an India strategy for a local base. So he's a packaging printer or whatever it is, he will want to come to India. And FDI, at least in has opened up commercial printing. I don't know the exact scenario, but I don't think the barriers are there. And next generation is bringing in global culture. It's wonderful to see the youngsters really transforming the industry. So these are unknown, but they are there. So when you look at this chart, there are a lot of positive factors. if we were to analyze why some people are making money and not the others, this chart might give you an idea. If you plot quality level on the vertical axis and size of the company on the horizontal axis, those who are at the high end of the quality and very large are making very good money. They have positioned their company strategy or company position to be a solutions provider at the high end. And they've got their quality systems in place and they're making good money. Similarly, there are smaller companies who are at the high end who have become specialists in one type of job or another type of job. And they are making good money. So you have the specialists and you have the solutions provider, both at the high end, making good money. There are some high-end players who are in between. They are not too small enough to be really lean and large, not large enough to have economies of scale. So they are on the way to making profits, but not quite there yet. The sad story is about those who are not at the high end and large. At the low end of the spectrum, it's survival mode. They're making losses. Medium-sized printers in the low-end segment are the worst off. The small ones somehow get away with it because they don't calculate depreciation. So that's profit, and that keeps them going. There is cash flow there, so it keeps them going. And middle level are either moving up or struggling to make up their mind which way they want to go. Should they invest in CDP technology? Should they not? Should they invest in an automated 4 or 5 online coating press or not? Those decisions, the sooner they make, the sooner they'll be able to participate in the profit gain. So profitability depends on the positioning and operational excellence. Operational excellence, we have already said, is zero waste, zero defect, zero delay. And if all of this is known, perception of quality is appropriate, commitment would automatically come. Let's clear some issues relating to perception. When I talk to printers, some of them still till today, in my print world days, it was said printing is an art practiced by skilled craftsmen. To make a good color separated job, you needed a dot etcher to work on it for 3 to 4 weeks on a set of positives. Most of you may not have even heard of it, using cyanide. Okay? And that was the only way to print a good 4-color job. Today you don't need a retoucher. That whole tribe has vanished. So printing has become a science, and the key there is it's measurable, it's repeatable, and it's predictable. So it's no longer an art. Second perception is you need a good quality controller to ensure quality consistency. The truth is the best way to ensure quality consistency is to eliminate quality control altogether. That's the only way to do it, not just the best way to do it. Why? Let's look at it. What are the number of printing variables that can affect quality? You have your hardware, software, people, and environment working together. On the pre-press side, let's take the basic 5 parameters that are there: gray balance, tonal gradation, resolution, screening, and undercolor removal. Or take any 5, but there will be minimum 5 critical parameters. As far as printing is concerned, there is density, dot gain, trap, registration, hue, ink water balance. There may be others. Inputs, you have rollers, blankets, paper, ink, plate, founts, washes. Now when you put all of this together, how many opportunities are there to create defects? Let's look at them. It's 210 combinations of variables. Teams involved are pre-press, printing, and 7 vendors when you take the 7 inputs. So you've got 9 teams involved, which does not include the hardware, software, people, and environment teams. Leave them aside. 210 into 9 is 1,809 opportunities to create defect on every printed sheet. That's the reality. And it's a fact. It's mind-boggling how we are able to sell all those sheets without a densitometer. It's unbelievable. But there it is. Now, can a quality controller prevent these defects? The best he can do is to sort out defective copies. Nothing more than that. So it's a real issue there. And third perception is high quality means high cost. Not everyone can afford it. The reality is high quality means low cost and higher profits. No one can survive without it. Why? Because cost of quality is price of conformance and price of non-conformance. Let's see what that means. Price of conformance basically means the cost that you incur to prevent a defect while producing a product and inspect it after it's produced. That's the price of conformance, to be able to conform with the requirement of the customer. The price of non-conformance, that means defective products, is the internal failures and the external rejections. When you add up these two, you get the total cost of quality. Now, let's look at the price of conformance first. Okay? If you look at the preventive side and you have in place market research, product qualification, process validation, systems development, quality education, preventive maintenance and training, there is a cost attached to it. This is designed to find the root causes, take corrective action, and take preventive action. And there is a cost attached to it. There is a cost attached to sorting things out. Inspection, testing, audit, and checking, which is only an assessment. It cannot reduce failure percentages. This cost, let's assume, is going to be X. We'll come back to it later. Now look at the cost of not conforming to customer requirements, because nearly 2,000 variables have created defects. Internal failure, rejected work, rework, reinspection, scrap, machine downtime, overtime, overdue receivables, excess inventory. Internal failure, despite all of this, is less costly than external. The product goes out, it escapes the inspection, and you have rejects, unplanned calls to be made to the customer. You got to get the material back. You have to sort things out, address the complaints. There is loss of customer goodwill. Maybe there is a loss of customer. There is bad publicity, fall in market share, and low employee morale. Nobody likes goods coming back. That is extremely expensive. Now, when you put these things together and create a model around it, this is what you see. Every organization has a workflow which is creating, inspecting, packaging, and distributing. Creating meaning producing. That's the visible organization. Then you have a hidden factory within a factory. After you've inspected the goods, whatever is sorted out, perhaps there is rework done on it, is re-inspected and sent out to the customer. Right? It happens. We do sort out things. All right. Okay. And then there is another factor, that when we inspect, we divide them into very bad and not so bad. Right? The very bad is then taken into further two categories, grade 2 and scrap. Right? So you have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. It doesn't happen in plates, but actually it does happen in plates, and we have a big issue around it. So, yeah, but that's right. Now, so when you look at all of this, the message is that there is a cost attached to rework, inspection, and that factory is costing a lot. That needs to be eliminated. And that is the goal of a quality management system, eliminate the hidden factory. Now look at some numbers. Assume for a moment that you don't have a quality management system. Price of conformance is 1x, price of non-conformance, rejects, etc. is 3x, total cost is 4x. With a quality system in place, the price of conformance may go up because you have to invest in the system. But non-conformance, you will get close to zero defect, and it will come down tremendously. And typically they find that by having a quality system in place, you are able to halve your cost of quality from 4x to 2x. This has been the experience of Technova. This has been the experience of virtually everyone I talk to. I don't know, Naren, what is your opinion? You don't calculate it. Because you don't have defects, you don't have hidden factory. So you but it's worth tracking these things. Yeah? Okay. Positioning of the company. You could have a market share strategy. You can provide higher quality products at the same price as your competitor and increase the market share because your cost is lower than your competitors when you produce higher quality with a system in place. Or you can provide similar quality products at a much lower price. That's not cutthroat competition. You're giving value, but your cost is lower, passing on the benefits, and you can increase your market share. So there is a market share strategy in that sense. And there is a profit strategy that you can provide quality product at a higher price, earn premium, and produce it at the same cost as your competitor, whereby you increase your profit margin. You're capable of doing both. So once you have the quality system in place, you can position the company whichever way you wish. And that's how this grid explains itself. This is excellence, operational excellence, and positioning of the company put together to get all the green blocks. So we talked about company strategy, perception of quality, and now it's a question of investing in QMS. It doesn't cost that much. And I'm sure if you talk to the right consultants for the printing industry, you would be able to find a way of doing it. But I would strongly recommend take help. Jump into the fishbowl, experience the joy of going down that journey, and if for no other reason, at least install quality management system, because Heidelberg has not provided, unlike on a computer, the undo button. On a computer, you can undo everything. Drupa 2008, okay. Good, that's a promise. Well, thank you very much. I've overshot by about 7 minutes, but I enjoyed sharing it with you, and I'll be followed up now by an example of a case study. So, Naren, you would like to take up. If you have, while they're setting up, if you have any questions, you're most welcome. Raise them.
Does any... Does anybody have questions for Pranav bhai? Can we have the lights, please? Yes, please.
Pranav bhai.
Lights, please, lights.
Pranav bhai, here. Here, Pranav bhai.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Well, we have just heard from you about quality management. Before that, we heard about MSI. So now, according to you, which is more important for a printer to go in for first?
MIS is a part of quality management, very clearly. You cannot have quality management without MIS or MIS without quality management, because what will you do with all that information and data? You may get all that information to you. What will you do with it without a system? It's just data. You can't convert it into information, and you can't convert it into a strategy. You can't convert it into an improvement process. So it all goes together. One can't live without the other. And a robust management information system is a must. But it's one component of the overall quality management system. That's the way I look at it. I don't know whether, Mr. Kepler, you'd agree with that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Iqbal.
Any other questions?
Iqbal.
Yeah.
Can we have a mic here?
Kaizen and all these names, how will the printer judge for himself what will work for him the best?
Excellent. I think that's a very, very good question. As I said, there are different methodologies that are there. The question here is, with all those names floating around, Kaizen, Six Sigma, etc., which one do we go for? Honest answer? Okay. Take, in my opinion, my favorites are Kaizen, Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, Toyota production system. Okay? Take a four-sided coin and toss it. Whichever one comes, go with it. Okay,
Naren, ready?
Yes, please. what is on the right side?
You had prevention
Yeah.
and appraisal.
Yeah.
You said if you have prevention, this is what it is, and if you have appraisal system, these are the factors.
Yeah.
On the right, you had also indicated testing under appraisal.
Yeah.
But can't we also have testing under prevention? Say if you get the, say, chemicals or ink, you test it yourself before you put it in the production. So the testing should be on both sides, isn't it?
Absolutely perfect question. I'm so glad you raised it. Because the answer to it is no, it must not be on the prevention side at all. You need not test if you have the process under control and you have a good vendor who certifies that what he's delivering to you conforms to standard. It's not necessary for you to test. And you will be surprised if you go to a world-class printer or whatever, and you ask him, do you not test this? He says, why should I test it? It's not my job. I'm paying the supplier to ensure that he supplies me with perfect products. And today it's come to an extent where in America they say the consumer boom started when they made it almost mandatory for every manufacturer to have a 30 days return policy. So any customer can buy anything and return it in 30 days if it's defective. No questions asked. It's supposed to be perfect. So therefore, ideally the testing should not be there. But in the initial stages of building up the system, there will be an overlap.
Because I believe when people like Donnelly and other, they have their own internal testing system.
It's there as an insurance.
Yeah,
it's an
exactly.
extra
Yeah,
buffer.
insurance.
I agree. But not in terms of concept. Yeah? Thanks.
Can I request you all to hold your questions till the full presentation is over, because I'm sure you'll have much more to ask after the full presentation
That
is
makes
over.
sense.
Yeah?
Thank you very much.
Please give a big hand to Pranav bhai.
You will need this. You know how to operate this? Okay. You can do this. I'll set it for 30 minutes. Okay, this is 30 minutes. Okay, this will get going and you can do with this. Okay. This is forward, this is backward.
Okay.
And this is the light.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I'll sit here. Good job done. Yeah, thank you. So, oh, I took away the mic. I am so sorry.
Hello. 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 Is it okay? Hello. Am I audible? Something wrong. Of course, they requested Pranav bhai that we should talk about quality management. And we discussed few things with Fred. Where is Fred? He's missing? Oh, Fred is here. We are missing you. And then, then I went and met Fred with my few colleagues, and I tried to confuse him as much as I could with Kaizen and ISO and all that thing which you have heard. But Fred stood his guns. So Naren, please make it interesting and practical. Now that was a big challenge. Of course, we worked around it. The interesting part is over. Now the practical part. So let's see what it really means. In quality improvement, the problems always come across. We always come across problems. And what I'm going to present to you is a methodology to solve problems. We have learned this. All right, sorry. Yeah, fine. We have learned this process of problem solving from our guru, right, Professor Shoji Shiba. Those who have visited Taloja factory, they must be familiar with the name. This is no rocket science. This is very simple, practical process. It's common sense, really. But we all know common sense is not a common practice. Right? So let's go ahead and see what it is. Professor defines, sorry. So what are the skills for leadership? They are technical skills, human skills, and conceptual skills. But as the management level goes up, the technical skill gets divided into functional skill and the problem solving skills. And Fred went on insisting that the audience, Naren, is all owner managers. So it's very, very imperative that problem solving skills have to be there. So this is just a framework as to how do we hone our problem solving skills. What really happens? If there is a problem, we fix it. We do some, what we call as jugaad masters. You know, we are all jugaad masters. The problem doesn't go away. The problem remains. We fix it again. This typically happens at the level of experience. To remember what Mr. Arun Rawat used to tell me, if my operator tells me, "Mala watla," that means wat lagli. Otherwise, what happens is, we have a sort of a feel that this must be the cause. And we jump to a solution. This is typical of all of us who are very intelligent. Very typical. We jump to solution at the speed of neurons. The big problem. What really has to happen? That problem solving happens at these two levels, at the level of thought and level of experience. It's an iterative process. What it's really trying to say is that level of thought is not scientific. There is no empirical data to tell you that what you feel or what you think is a cause is really the root cause. And level of experience is nothing but firefighting. Let's see a bit more of it. This is practically known as non-scientific approach to problem solving. What happens? We have awareness of a problem, we have opinions and arguments, then a new policy is announced. Rule number 2 applies. Anybody knows what is rule number 2? Rule number 2? Boss is? No, that is rule number 2. Okay, rule number 1 is boss is always right. Rule number 2 is if boss is wrong, refer rule number 1. This is exactly what happens here. And hope that action happens. It never does it? This happens at the level of thought. The level of experience is a fighting of fire. Okay? By the time you finish this fire, there is another flare of another fire. And you end up fighting fire harder. What typically happens here? Customer complains. The sales guy says, "Oh, sorry, Baba, manage this time. We'll be careful." Does the problem go away? Problem doesn't go away. Next time problem comes again. Boss, don't worry. Keep the plate aside. I'll send you a new one. Problem doesn't go away. Next time, अरे साहब रात को 12 बजे के पहले भेज देता हूँ. Job will be done. Don't worry. Before you come to office, job will be done. This happens at the level of experience. So what is really required is how do we join them? The scientific approach of problem solving works like this, that you perceive a problem, you collect your data. Now we are talking facts. This is not a judgment, this is not an opinion, this is not an inference. We are talking data, we are talking about unshakable facts. Then draw conclusion. Test your conclusion. Plan a fix. We have to do something about it. Test the conclusion. This is draw the conclusion, this is test conclusion, and this is the test fix. This should be test fix. And announce a new standard. This is very important. Has anybody been to NITI, National Institute of Industrial Engineering at Powai? If you go there, just at an entrance, this is cast in stone. Theory without practice is sterile, and practice without theory is futile. And all industrial engineers know this. This is very important to understand. What professor has done for us is, he has expanded systematic problem solving. How do we do it? Make it very practical. We select a theme, collect and analyze data. That means we have data here. Remember, this is a reactive problem solving. This is not proactive or problem solving. But whatever problem is there, we recognize that something has to be done, and we are collecting this data. We analyze causes. All the quality tools are to be used here. There is a small booklet given to you. These are known as 7 QC tools, very, very commonly used in industry, particularly the auto component industry, which you know about the way they are growing. Nobody can survive without those tools. You plan and implement solution. You collect data again. Please believe me that at this point of time, complete data, it will be mostly numeric. There will be something you can do about it. There is no language data here. There might be a language data here, but this is completely numeric. A standardized solution, and reflect on the process and the next problem. Please understand one thing. If you standardize a solution, if it doesn't work, you plan again, one more. I'll explain you a little bit. This is Deming's PDCA cycle. And if you ask me one simple key to success as far as Japan is concerned, that they learned from Dr. Deming PDCA. So we'll take a sort of a problem which most of the printers face. I have Praful with me. What is really required is to put it in a very system-oriented fashion. The KP stands for a Kaizen project. Let's say it is in a press room. It could be pre-press, it could be post-press, or accounting, or materials, whatever. 701. 7 is, let's say, 2007, project number 1. What is very interesting here is that we have a standard template, and it is given to all the department and functional heads, and they have to follow this process step by step. It's very important that you follow step by step. Otherwise, tendency is so great to jump to conclusion or jump to solution. Another important thing I want to draw your attention is this circle. Please remember, quality improvement is trial and error method. You have to keep on working on, you have to plan a solution, implement the solution. If it doesn't work, plan again. This really means that if it doesn't work, go back and come back. Maybe some data you overlooked, some causes you have not analyzed properly. Something has not come to light. So I think we need to be very careful about this. This is another aspect of systematic problem solving. Form a cross-functional team. It is very clearly said that 90% of the problem in any organization happen because some conversation did not take place. This is true. So have a cross-functional team, put their names of designation, leader of the team has to be decided, somebody senior should be facilitating it, assign responsibilities, accountability, and ownership. We also have a practice of putting a group photograph. You know, this generates teamwork, this sense of fulfillment. Those who have visited our factory would know that we collect everything, the complete documentation is put on our Kaizen corner. Now, how do we select themes? This is the Kaizen checklist. These are 7 mudas, as we call it. These are new wastes. Let's focus on 7 wastes, which are known as the overproduction, the waste of waiting, the waste of transportation, waste of inappropriate processing, waste of unnecessary inventory, waste of unnecessary motion, and defects. I think for this group, we selected a defect, how to handle a defect. Obviously, these are the new wastes. I'll not elaborate time on this. These are some of the tools. Once we select a theme, autonomous maintenance or single-minute exchange of dies, error-proofing, Prokyoke, unit cost reduction program, whatever we can take it, productivity improvement, integrated logistics, visual management, production leveling, Jidoka, Ejunka, I mean, just in time, there are a lot of tools are there. But we'll be focusing on a print defect. So we have selected theme to reduce customer complaints due to defects in the print jobs. I'll invite Praful to explain the case further.
Yeah, when we call on a printer, this is a live case study. And then we said, what are the problems you are facing? So we could list down all these problems. And then we were able to pinpoint that if you take print-to-print variation, color variation, if we take that problem and solve it, then it will be easier for us, because then maybe 50% of the total will be eliminated. So, yeah. The problems are like fan-out image, snowflake solids, toning, tinting, scumming, waterlogged print, chalking, print-to-print color variation, set-off, registration misalignment, and ink trapping. So these were the problems, and we could find out that these 2 problems, the print-to-print color variation and the registration, is the major cause of waste.
Very important thing to understand is the Pareto principle. I'm sure all of you know. Identify vital few from trivial many. We saw this even in Mr. Kepler's presentation as how do we really work out. It is 20% of the inputs are giving you 80% of the output. That 20% of the cause is responsible for 80% of consequences, and 20% of the effort will give you 80% results. So this is Pareto diagram. Excel has got this facility. So we focus on the one problem which is causing maximum problem. So we'll focus on that. Quality is conformance to requirements. Non-conformance is non-quality, period. If you talk about that, then we come to measurements. In the morning session also, we saw a lot of importance to measurement. Rashid and who was there along with Rashid? Mustafa. They told us a lot of things about measurement, and this means there has to be a units around it. Look at this. And I'm sure everybody, all of us appreciate it. Measurements are not easy. Are they? They are not. What do you see in these names which are written there? Joules, Celsius, Watt, Young's modulus, Siemens, Newton, Farad. What are they? They are units. And they are also scientists. So what is the moral of the story here? That if you find a way to measure something, you become immortal. This is the message here. The Lord Kelvin has said the progress of science is progress of measurement. So measurement is very, very important. I like this statement, from George Bernard Shaw. The most intelligent person I have ever met is my tailor. He takes fresh measurement every time I visit him. This is one thing I also like. What Mr. Narayan Murthy said, in God we trust, for the rest give us data. Okay? So we go to the tools for measurement and critical requirements.
So as we have dwelled on today, the minimum requirements are having a color strip on a print, a reflection densitometer on the shop floor, not in the cupboard, and determined print standards, because if you have something determined, then you can compare that and then see whether we are on the right track or whether we have to improve. Of course, when you collect data, you should have a sampling plan. For example, suppose you are printing, say, a job of, say, 1,000 copies. So you can collect one sheet after 50, then do it at a constant press speed, and log the data into a simple format like Excel. So these are the minimum requirements. Now, when we collect the data, as we know that we have to collect dot gain data, density, gray balance, ink trap, emulsification, ink water uptake, IPA percentage, and print comparison with visual or with densitometers. These are the necessary equipments: color strip, densitometer, water uptake meter, machine console where you get ink water balance. For IPA testing, you can IPA percentage, you can get alcometer and densitometer. And these are the units in which you can measure the data. These are the simple tools: densitometer and color strips. Color strips are very important because, as Mr. Vaisal said, that it is mandatory to have color strip. Otherwise, it is not possible to view the things. Mr. Narendra also today in the morning, he said, we don't see the picture. We see density in the magenta and a trap value. So as you go down, you can see the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
So the same sheet, the same job was evaluated for 300 copy, 350th, 400 and 450th. So you can get the same variation in the density values and the trap values.
There's another important aspect you must understand. Understanding variation is very important. Now, when we have a problem, just look at the definition. Somebody comes with a problem to you. What will happen is either he is talking about what is actual reality, or he is talking about what it should be. But unless you put both these together, you will never know where you stand. In statistical terms, this is known as variation. Problem word is wrong. Don't talk about problem. All quality gurus say there is nothing like quality problem. Use word quality with a lot of care. All the words where quality is used, just replace it with conformance to requirements. So the expected idea is nothing but what is requirement. And the gap between expect and actual is variation. This is Dr. Deming's a golden statement that understanding variation and reducing it is the key to success. Now this is where the standards come into play. In quality parlance, there is another golden statement you must remember. It is better to have a wrong standard than no standard. If you have a wrong standard, someday you will find out that, yes, this is wrong. We must do something about it. If you have no standard, 5 operators in the press, you have 5 standards. This happens all the time, isn't it? So it's better to have whatever standard you choose, as per the industry practice, and you list it down. And very important thing is this. Quality is another definition for quality is tolerance. How much amount of variation from a standard value you can tolerate determines your quality. So this is very important to understand that what is the standard picked up and what tolerance we are talking about.
So when we compared the actual reading with the FOGRA standards, we could get the delta D for the density and delta T. So we could find out that there is a variation. And then once you know the variation, then we can find out the causes for the variation. So the picture was clear then. It's the same where some more data sheets were there.
Now with this data, it is very easy to define the problem and it is to be defined in 4W1H. What, where, when, who, and how. Let me caution you here. Please don't ask question why. Because if you ask a question why, you will get an emotional response. So don't ask question why. It has to be 4W1H. What color variation is seen within the printed job? Where color variation seen in magenta color in all the jobs printed on Speedmaster 102 press, whatever. When variation seen in all the shifts? Who? Irrespective of the operator. How? At the interface of ink fountain plate. This is to zero down really what exactly is the problem. The problem is redefined as defect of color variation seen in magenta unit in all the jobs printed on this. Then everybody's clear. Another important Kaizen tip. When we analyze causes, don't sit in the office and do analysis of the cause. Go to the Gemba. Go where the value is being added, where the machine is running. Focus on critical observation. This is very important. It's quite a skill, but this has to be done. Follow pick one, fix one strategy. Take too many problems, you will not be able to solve it. Application of diagnostic journey instead of a solution journey. We talked about it. Very important. We must stick to diagnostic journey first. And application of a visual management. I'm sure all of you, any of you have visited our Taloja factory must have seen some red and green tags. If any abnormality is seen on the machine, those tags are applied. So one becomes very conscious. Even a department head comes there, he understands that yes, this abnormality is noticed and this is going to be addressed. Now this is the tool which is known as cause-effect diagram or Ishikawa tool. Professor Ishikawa devised this tool. Whatever variation is there has to be classified. As I said, there is nothing like quality problem. The problem must be defined by the causing it. And I'm sure if you search for the net on Ishikawa diagram, you'll get a lot of information on this. Material, methods, environment, measurement, machine, people. So everything has to be broken down into components and have a look at it. This is there in the handout. You can see that is not only for the manufacturing or product problems. It can be addressed to anything. I'm sure try to put whatever we discussed today into this. You will find a lot of answers. This is just an example. We started trying to put, how does the whole thing look like? From this experience, and we have other experts in Technova, we started, filling out as to how does it look like. Obviously, because this is a teamwork, the best method to use it is to put a paper on the wall, put a single arrow, put this as an effect, and these are all the causes. People write down on a post-it as to what they think is a problem and classify them accordingly. When we put complete problem, the whole Ishikawa diagram started looking like this. You may find it very difficult to see, but the whole thing looked like this. So we are trying to just zero down as to what was really wrong with the machine, which is where very significant causes were identified with practical observation. Then you zero down as to what has really happened. Okay, there was something wrong with the dampening unit. Yeah, I think you can explain this.
When we went to the press, we saw that the damping unit was not performing well on the magenta unit only, and then that was causing the color variation. So then we again went down and drilled it. So we could say that okay, these can be the problems, and this can be the action plan. Check the IPA, check the speed of the found distributor roller, check the fountain circulation motor, check the dampening circulation system, check the fountain dosing systems. And these were the things which we said. You check the IP purity, check the RPM of the roller, RPM of the motor, then whether there is a foaming, and that foaming is causing the uneven dampening. Countercheck the fountain concentrate by the volumetric systems. And then we found out that the motor of the dampening unit was not performing properly. It was malfunctioning, and that was giving additional water, or at times less water, and that was causing the problem. So once that was identified, we repaired the motor and then study the print variation again. We also monitored the IPA dosing and also the fountain dosing. So these were the measures taken.
So once the measures are taken?
So after the measures were taken, we found that then the density was matching the density of solids before and after that. And because of that, the problem was then identified and solved.
Yeah. So once we come to step 6 is to standardize a solution. Prepare a checklist, record data in a checklist, review data every day, have a weekly PPM schedule, and dampening motor maintenance has to be part of the checklist. Checklist also has to have a clear mandate as to what are the items to be checked and what is the schedule and who's going to do it. Another important aspect of the whole process is the last step, which is reflection, because this is considered the most noble way to learn, way to wisdom. Ask these questions. What worked well? Good teamwork, good data collection, whatever. What did not work well? Oh, that time we wanted to take measurement, the densitometer was not there. Maybe boss vanished. He had an urgent call. What changes in the process we would make? I'm sure you'll find a lot of answers. The team, if the process is conducted properly, they will learn a lot from the way problem has been solved. Then let's recap the quality absolutes. Quality definition is not goodness, nothing which is shiny, nothing which is bright looking, nothing which has more weight. There is no value judgment. Quality is conformance to requirements. Non-conformance is non-quality. I think it is very important to understand that we are not really trying to move the mean. Let me explain like this. Maruti 800 meeting all the requirements of Maruti 800 car is a quality Maruti 800 car. Mercedes-Benz meeting all the requirements of Mercedes-Benz is a quality Mercedes-Benz car. We are not trying to move the mean. Please understand. This is the key. Which one? Summary. Yeah. Yes. Sorry about that. Definition is not goodness, it's conformance to requirement. The system of quality is not appraisal, it's prevention. Performance standard is not chalega, not acceptable quality level, but zero defect. Measurement is not indices. Different kind of measurements we have is cost of quality. When we were with Fred, Fred called up Narendra and he mentioned this. Do it right the first time, every time. I was thrilled. Today, Fred also mentioned that we must find the right time. What is the right way, the better way? Let me tell you a very short story which I saw on a video when I was going through a quality training in Johnson & Johnson. I can never forget about it. The story was that, these Marines in US, a big burly Marine was training a very young guy how to tie his parachute. Obviously, the Marine, the sergeant was whistling. He was in a jovial mood. But the young guy who was taking training, his hands were shaking. He's tying his own parachute. And if that knot doesn't open, he knows what's going to be the result. So the guy is absolutely nervous wreck. He said, Sergeant, can I ask you a question? He said, yes, go ahead. He said, Sergeant, tell me, how it is going to be right? So Sergeant put his hand around him.
He said, look son, there is only one way to do it right, and that is the right way. Do it that way, the result will be right. I think quality is all about having this attitude. If we can cultivate or motivate people around us that the job they are doing is, the kind of tying their own parachute, I think then the quality is going to be the way. This is what we learned from Professor when we went to Favi and Sanden in France. He says, this is top manager's role. Keep on talking about improvement, improvement, improvement all the time. But this is not easy. Please be careful here. Many eyes are looking, are watching. They see whether you are serious about quality, and values are written on paper. Behavior is what is seen. So this is, I think, very important to understand. The quality is pride in workmanship. Another gem from Dr. Deming. Thank you very much. If you have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Naren and Prafulla and Pranav bhai. Any questions? Just 5 questions, please. We're running out of time completely. Any questions? Great. I have a very
we always say that when there are no questions, there are only 2 possibilities. Everything is understood or nothing is understood.
But I'm sure with the seeing the audience interaction, I think a lot of people understood a lot. And I think with the announcement which I'm going to make now, I think they're going to understand much more on a continuous basis. I shared this idea with Pranav bhai and the BMPA committee, and they've approved it. We're planning to have a continuous improvement within printers where they discuss with each other, make a forum in which we can share our problems and solutions which we've already identified, so that probably another fellow printer doesn't have to fall into the same problem as I did, or vice versa. So I'd request Pranav bhai to please come up on stage and tell us a few things on how we're going to do this and take it forward. But I can tell you all one thing, the good news is that we've already got our first enrollment into this forum, and that's none other than Mr. Narendra, who's already agreed to be a part of this forum. So Mr. Narendra and Pranav bhai, if you can both come up on stage and share with us how we're going to take it forward. It's very sketchy as of now, but we'll just at least see what the response we get, and then we can take it forward from there. Can we have 2 mics, please?
I think the concept... talk, I think.
No, it's working now.
Okay. I think the concept here is, you can do this later, it's all right. There is an incredible amount of interest one finds when one visits printing plants or talks to people. We get feedback from our people to improve quality. I think there is a constant journey that every printer is going through. However, they don't know quite how to go about it. That's really a problem. And there is the day-to-day operational pressure. On the other hand, there are not enough resources, and there are plenty of problems. One way to resolve it is exchange of ideas. It could be problem-solving oriented discussions. It could be exchange of best practices or good practices. It could take any other format. But the one that makes most sense to start off with is a problem-solving session that one could have periodically. We can have it once a fortnight or once a month. It could be in the form of a forum that is formed up of individuals who are not threatened by each other. There can be several such groups depending on the number of people that are interested. But a reasonable size for a group for such a forum could be anywhere between 15 to 25. Why we are saying more than 15 is if there are absenteeism, there should be some basic number to keep the discussion going. And if it's too many, it is not a discussion any longer. It becomes very difficult for people to be open. So ideal number, I would say, would be 15 present at any given point in time. The formation could be those that are not competing with each other and those that are willing to share openly, rather than think that if I give him my idea, then he'll become, more competitive and so on. Idea is that each one learns from each other, and generally we should be looking at competing with the global players and not with each other. And one always finds that as you share knowledge, you get more knowledge and you get better over a period of time. So this is the basic concept. I'm sure a lot more refinement can be brought about, but what Feinbai suggested was that why don't we at least share the basic concept with the members and see whether there is at least a minimum level of interest or not. In terms of logistics, the meetings could take place somewhere in BMPA office, or we have a conference room of Technova at Mahalakshmi, or venue is not so important. We can find one. We can even rotate it. We had formed an earlier forum where, thanks to Naren, the format was such that the whole group made up of leading printers in the country, we went to Pragati, and he just opened out the whole shop, and he shared very generously his practices and talked about his problems and how he addresses it, his philosophies. And after that, there was a discussion that followed up. So it was going to the Gemba, to the shop floor, and also discussing at a conceptual level. That worked quite well. Naren, if you'd like to share your experience or add something.
Actually, I agree with Mr. Abbott. That experience is defined as not making the same mistake twice. So if you are in a group and you share, and then if you learn from my mistakes, and you don't do the same mistakes again, so there's less cost. So any mistake made is always a cost, and cutting down the cost is, and always doing it right the first time, that's what it is. And I sincerely think, as they are saying this morning, I've been only hearing lots of billions of dollars coming in to retail and 6% of it transforming into printing. So it seems a lot of work is coming in. It's not that we are all worried about competition. I think there's a lot of work. And more important, the education sector, the 2% cess all of us are paying, are also coming back into the printing industry, and that's also huge money coming in. So there's enough amount of work. We need not worry like the West, 2% growth or 2.5%, 0.2% growth. We are at 15% growth. So sharing and sharing will make us definitely better. I think that's the only way.
We can take this forward by registering with the BMPA at bmpa@vsnl.com. The people who are interested in joining this forum, please register at bmpa@vsnl.com, and then we'll get back to you all as a group as what we intend to do, and then we can finally firm up that group with the help of Mr. Narendra and Pranav Bhai. I'm sorry we've completely run out of time, and we have to vacate this hall now. But before we do that, can I please call up Manoj Bhai Mehta to please present a small memento to Pranav Bhai from the BMPS side to show our appreciation. Please give them a big hand. I will now ask Fred Poonawalla, the man behind the event, to please give a small memento to Naren, and a very special warm round of applause for Fred too, because without whom we wouldn't be doing this Print Summit. And can I please request Amit Shah to please give away a small memento to Mr. Prafulla. Please give them a big hand. Thank you, Pranav Bhai. Thank you, Naren, and thank you, Prafulla, for this lovely presentation. I give it back to Dev Nair for the vote of thanks.